Hi there, Luke here with episode 27 of our Eurotrip 2020 travel series, where we take you along on our summer 2020 trip that we did to the countries of France, Luxembourg, and parts of Portugal. If you watched our last episode, you will know that we wrapped up our time in the countries of France and Luxembourg, and we were about to wrap up our trip just for the next 2 weeks, where we finished off in the Portuguese areas of the Azores Islands in the Atlantic Ocean. But before we headed there, we flew from Luxembourg to Lisbon, where we had about a 6 or so hour layover that we wanted to make the most of. So we proceeded to fly to Lisbon, and then we left the airport shortly after and tried to explore as much of the city of Lisbon as possible with the time that we had. When we landed in Lisbon, we proceeded to take a free walking tour. One of the first major stops that we went to on our walking tour was to Rossio train station, which is quite extravagant and nicely designed. If you are looking for really exquisite church interiors, then do check out the Church São Roque. And finally, probably one of the best viewpoints in Lisbon from what we saw was from São Pedro de Alcântara. Another thing you do not want to miss is to try their lovely tarts, which are called pastéis de nata. And these are just these delicious buttery tarts that melt in your mouth. And what better place to have them than here in Portugal, in Lisbon. We do wish we had time to enjoy our pastéis de nata with some Portuguese port wine, but unfortunately we did have to make it back to the airport because we had a flight to Punta Delgada, which is located on the island of São Miguel. And this is probably the most built-up island of all of the Azores Islands. We proceeded to our hotel and we spent the next day in isolation. I did some work from home, and that was a nice way to just kind of wait for our results. And we ended up getting our results sooner than we thought. We got them about late afternoon the next day, so it was actually even faster than they said it was going to be. We decided for our first day on the island exploring that we would book a guided tour through Get Your Guide. And this particular tour focused on the east side of the island of São Miguel. Our first stop was to the village of Vila Franca de Campo, which has this secluded chapel called the Senhora de Paz. And if you do go, definitely walk up to the top because you get really nice panoramic views of the area, and also just the experience of walking up is quite beautiful itself. They do a good job of maintaining a lot of the flowers and everything there. Our next stop was the town of Furnas, and Furnas is known for the geothermal fields that are here and all of the volcanic activity happening just below the surface. We visited a particular area where you got nice views of the geothermal vents with the steam coming up. It was really nice just walking around this lake that's in the area, as well as walking on the boardwalks through these cool geothermal vents. In fact, a local dish called cozido is made in this area of Furnas by putting these meat and vegetable mixtures in a pot and then cooking it for about 6 hours, putting it inside these geothermal vents. So talk about using nature to your advantage to make this delicious food. Because it's basically slow cooking it, it makes the meat and the vegetables really tender and delicious and juicy. So it's a really great way to sample the local food in a very interesting and authentic way of preparing it. After our time in Furnas, we proceeded to these beautiful botanical gardens at the Parque, Terra, Nostra. This is a beautiful park and botanical garden that was formed around the year 1775, and it offers some really nice things, including beautiful foliage from all around the world to explore and experience, as well as thermal baths where you can enjoy the warm waters from the geothermal activity happening in this this area. We didn't have time to enjoy the baths. We saved that for a later time in our trip, but we did really enjoy just walking around this beautiful and quite large park. So do give yourself time to really experience it. We had a great time just walking around and taking in this beautiful atmosphere. After this, we proceeded to the Miradouro do Pico do Ferro, which offers a stunning view that overlooks the Lagoa das Furnas. We then proceeded to the north coast, where we enjoyed another scenic viewpoint called the Miradouro da Vigio das Baleias. This particular viewpoint is called this because baleias in Portuguese means whales, and it was a big whale hunting area back years in the past. Whale hunting was a big part of Azorean culture for a time, but obviously now it's not so much. The industry has died, and as a result, they've kind of changed their focus to whale watching rather than whale hunting. One of our last stops of the day was at the Ribeira dos Caldeiros Park, which offers a stunning waterfall and amazing foliage. Really, just this island is so lush, has so much to offer. If you are someone who appreciates various types of flora, then you will love this island because it is just so beautiful to see the dramatic and lush wildlife all around you. Our very last stop of the day was to another beautiful viewpoint called Miradouro de Santa Iria, and this gives you a really nice view of the north coast of the island of São Miguel. So do check it out if you are on this island. It was a really great way to finish the day. We couldn't believe how many amazing things we had seen in just one day. In fact, we were so impressed with the tour that we had that we decided to book a tour with the same company for the next day as well, except this time it focused on the western side of the island of São Miguel. Our first stop of this new day was going to the Azores de Portugal, which is a historic pineapple plantation. Fun fact, this is the only pineapple plantation in the world that grows pineapples in a greenhouse. So it has a unique climate in this particular part of the world that allows them to grow pineapples in greenhouses, which most places are not able to do. So that was really cool to walk around these greenhouses and see the various stages of pineapples growing in them. At the end of our time walking around this particular plantation, we decided to just sit down and sample some of these pineapples for ourselves. And we were really pleasantly surprised. If you like pineapple, the pineapples here taste a little bit different. In fact, they're quite sweet. After the plantation, we proceeded to an area called Sete Cidades, which is a very scenic part of the island, and we proceeded to the Lagoa das Empedradas. Unfortunately, because of the weather, we couldn't really see too much. We were fortunate though that we did return to this area later and got better views. So stay tuned for a future video where we return to Sete Cidades. We proceeded along, stopping at the Miradouro do Cerrado das Pereiras, where we had some luck and were greeted with a beautiful rainbow. So awesome to experience it. Afterwards, we headed back to the coast where the weather was much better, to the Miradouro de Escalvado, which is on the western coast of São Miguel. Our next stop was by far the highlight of the day, and this involved driving about halfway across the island to the Miradouro do Lagoa do Fogo, or Fire Lake. And this is because this lake is located in a volcanic crater, and it's just surrounded by these mountains. It's a really beautiful view that you can enjoy, and just a great experience. We were so grateful that we got clear skies for this beautiful landmark stop. After taking some time to enjoy these views, we proceeded to Caldeira Velha, and this is just a nice area for hot springs, a short interpretive trail, an information center, and just a nice place to see some of these hot springs. Our final stop of the day was to the Miradouro de Ponta do Cintrão, and this offers some of the best views that we saw over the past 2 days. It's along the northern coast of the island and is a great way to finish off your day if you are able. It was just so spectacular, and we were so thankful that we got to enjoy it and see it for ourselves. All right, everyone, that is it for Lisbon and our first experience in São Miguel. Now, we did return to São Miguel at the end of our Azorean trip, but that was after we had explored some of the other islands in the Azores. So do stay tuned because we will be featuring those videos as well in this travel series. So if you liked this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And stay tuned because our next video will feature our visit to the island of Faial. See you then. Bye.